that something interesting is happening. Hello, good morning. I don't know why I started it like that today, but there you go. So if you look at things, you'd probably notice something interesting. Um, you may notice that there is something missing, something a little off. I was like, I'll just keep it out. So I go to the bathroom today. I get a good look at myself in the mirror. And I'm like, what happened to my mustache? Like, it ain't terrible, but I'm just like, I like a full mustache. I don't know why a good like 75% of my mustache is gone, but it's fine. Also, I saw Santero's video pop up. Taurus video yesterday. I just saw the Magician and the Three of Cups. And I was like, oh, I gotta put this in my watch later. And I'm watching it. I'm only like maybe 3 to 5 minutes in. And I'm like, why did I have all those dreams? Like, why was it so important for me to try to remember to talk about what was happening in my dreams, for her to just like talk about it in like the first 3 minutes of that video? I was like, excuse me? Like, what? King of Swords, King of Cups. Ooh, I like this energy. King of Swords and King of Cups in the cut. I'm gonna get into this thing today. So, yeah, Ace of Pentacles, the King of Cups. During a 4-hour watch on U.S. Navy ships. Ooh. The Knight of Swords came out, and the bottom of the deck is the Ace of Cups, the Hierophant, and the World card. This feels like it's gonna like slam this Ace of Cups energy into the Hierophant, which gives Hierophant energy like new life. And it completely changes something. Oh my gosh, look, there's the Yggdrasil. There's the Yggdrasil or Yggdrasil world tree. Oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, sounds about accurate. Sounds about like actually where I am. So whenever I manifest, so it started last year, I guess, more intentionally. And whenever I manifest something for the collective, like I honor what the divine honors, right? Like we all have our own free will, we all make our own choices. And so it's like, well, how do you manifest something for the world or for everyone in the world when we all have like free will and choice and things like that? And so I started it was something like manifesting the opportunity for all of us to come into a more liberated self. Also manifesting um like when things get too difficult, something to like cushion the blows a little bit, but not to cushion the blows so much that we don't do whatever like we're being guided or led to do in the first place. And after yesterday, that feeling of like regeneration, now it's like, well, I'm just gonna add my little 2 energetic cents to that. So today is Victoria Day in Canada. In Victorian England, approximately 1837 and 1901, private messages often were conveyed using the language of flowers. Arrangements, flower types, presentation, and how they were received all carried meaning. This is interesting because I thought about that yesterday. Last night, I was thinking about that because I was thinking about like dream interpretation and stuff like that, and how I try to make it more personal and less generalized, unless I'm like completely out of my element and I'm like, wait, or unless I want another opinion on what it could be. Um, But then it made me think of like flowers. Because I was like, I have absolutely no idea what flowers mean. Oh, what is up with this? King of Pentacles, King of Wands. Ten of Wands at the bottom of the deck. What's up with the kings? Why are the kings are all coming out today? First it was the King of Swords and the King of Cups. Now it's the King of Wands and the King of Pentacles. And I was actually thinking about that too. So anyway, I'll try to remember to get to that. So I was like, well, I don't know anything about flowers. So if it comes to flowers, I'm going to have to look that up. Because it's like, well, what does this flower say to you? Because I believe that, and that's why, like, whenever I'm probably people's like gateway to tarot, or I try to be, because I read for one of my buddies, and then I read for my ex roomie a while ago, and then I read for another buddy, and then I gave them the cards, and I was like, all right, now either read for yourself or read for me. And they're like, but I don't know any other meanings. I'm like, and I'll use this deck. I'll use the Witch's Tarot because it has a lot of imagery in it. And I was like, you don't have to know what they mean. Just like go off of the images of the cards. Because I believe that when we're in a space of communication with spirit, hey Eve, I don't know. I just saw let me see if I can find it. I just saw the world tree and the world card. And I was like, oh snap, there's that Idrisil that Eve was just talking about. Let me see if I can find it. It was so funny. It was the Knight of Swords, the Ace of Cups, the Hierophant, and then the World. Is it at the top of the deck? No, wait. Did I overlook it? Hello? I'm like, excuse me, I've gone through this whole deck. There's the Ace of Cups with the Knight of Swords, but the Hierophant and the World aren't here anymore. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. I don't know. I was like, oh, like I think that's supposed to be the world tree, and then you see the deer at the bottom, and you see the bird at the top. I was like, what? Da, 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 da. I don't know what the song is. But anyway, yeah, I believe that like when we're in the space of communion and communication with the divine knows how we operate and how we work and how we would interpret something. So the divine knows what to give us, like what imagery, what card, what number to give us to get a certain message. And that's why like whenever I watch another reader, like I'm like I could interpret this in this way, yeah, but if they interpret something in another way, I'm just like, well, that's how it was shown to them so that they would get the message, right? um, and so for the most part, that's kind of sort of what I try to operate off of more and more. But I was literally just thinking when it comes to flowers, because we got that flower message, and I was like, what does this flower mean? um, I was like, I'm gonna have to look it up. And then Amanda was here, and she gave um, some information too. This is literally like in Victorian England, private messages often were conveyed using the language of flowers. Arrangements, flower types, presentation, and how they were received all carried meaning. But it's almost like the whole planet can be a flower because it's like all of the organic things that are growing on it. And it's like, well, how is this planet a message from the divine? And its arrangement, different flower types, presentation, and how we receive it. I don't know. Yeah, I can see myself being comfortable in the world tree. Honestly. I wasn't too surprised. That's why I was like, yeah, that seems pretty accurate. Hey, Mimi. And so with all of these kings, because I was thinking about, so I keep saying it was like dark, light, dark. But in the dream, it's like there was dark, and then there was a figure, and then it was dark again. And that figure in that brief period of light, oh snap! Congratulations to your son. Moving on up and getting older. And then I was like, well, it's been this like divine feminine energy that's making a return or that is present. And then I was like, what if that like figure was the divine masculine or some kind of like masculine energy? And I was literally thinking that before I started this. And now all of these kings are popping out. Like King of Cups, King of Swords. Now the King of Pentacles and the King of Wands came out together. I'm like, what's going on? But also the Emperor, it feels like it's in a position of like, look, there's another one, the King of Swords with the Three of Cups. All the kings are coming together. What's happening with the kings? Where's Miss Reemy Healings? Reem, I need you. I need you. Sorry. Ooh, she got me real excited in that fairy video. I'm like, Reem, yes, girl, come through. Ooh. Justice, the Two of Pentacles, and the Seven of Pentacles. The Six of Wands, the Two of Cups, and the Ace of Wands. Yeah. The Four of Pentacles is on the bottom of the deck. Principles, lists, and social studies. Oh, snap. You achieving. I did. I'm glad that whatever I needed to get out my system, I got out my system because Spirit is letting me sleep now. I'm like, whew, I'm a fan of this. But now I'm watching Santero's Taurus video, and I'm like 3 minutes in. I'm like, yeah, this is like literally everything that I was getting. So I don't know why I couldn't sleep. Why wasn't it just like wait a few days or like watch Santero's Taurus video tomorrow? I'm like, okay. But anyway, the message of the flowers. Let's get into this. Just to see what's up for today. I really need to start like doing my part. I did. I watched it last night. I couldn't have watched it this morning. Yeah, I watched it last night before I went to sleep. And it was about being a fluid earth instead of a fixed earth, and how uncomfortable change can be, but how important it is, and how there's something beautiful happening. Um, but we can't be so fixed that we don't catch it. Ooh, Knight of Cups, and there's another sort of world tree energy. Well, it's a smaller. No, yeah, that's like a baby world tree though. I feel like it hasn't fully grown. I feel like I've never seen the crow or the bird in this card as this big. Like that bird is looking so big to me today. I'm like, is that like a raptor? I might have to watch it again though, because I was like, it was late and I was tired. Uh, so this flower arrangement, what's this about? King of Swords and the Knight of Cups. What's up with the kings? What is up with the kings? Well, you know what? Let's just no. All right, let's get a flower card first. Oh, this is interesting. The Empress card came out, and then the Nine of Wands card came out, and the Ace of Swords is at the bottom of the deck with the Four of Pentacles, and then the Queen of Wands is under that. When this Empress card came out, it felt like all of the kings are trying to court this Empress. And she's like, ha ha, I don't think so. It's an energy of courtship. If the emperor is retiring, and in the tarot apocalypsis, every time I see a queen or a princess in that deck, it talks about how the kingdom, like authority and rulership over the kingdom, is granted by her. Like she is the crowned royal, and it's the person that she marries that then becomes the king, but she's already a queen. And now the Empress comes out with this Nine of Wands, where she's like literally beating all these kings off with a stick. It feels like the kings are coming for like her inheritance, basically, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, or just to work with her, right? Yeah, I was sitting under. I was getting my hair done actually, because the first time he was gonna go live, I was with my grandma like all day, and I was like, no, I'm gonna miss Russell's live, but I was like, I'll just watch the replay, I guess. But then it didn't happen because his connection was laggy, and so yesterday I sit under the chair, and my cousin starts like twisting my hair or whatever, um, and then at one point I um, got on YouTube, and then I saw Russell live. I was like, "What? No!" And then after we were done, and I was about to get under the dryer, that's when I popped in, and I was like, "Hey, like just saying hi. I can't stay." And then when I was under the dryer, I came back for Pisces a little bit. But I was like, I missed it twice. That's fine. I don't know who either of those people are, but it is pretty cool. It kind of freaked me out last year, honestly, though. Because, like, last year I would see the same people, like, pop up in multiple spaces. I'm like, ew, what is this? But now I can appreciate it. It was my own hangups about community and stuff that I had to get over. But this is supposed to be. So, this is the Empress. The Empress is receiving. Oh, oh, snap. Well, she may be letting her guard down a little bit. Oh, yeah. Okay. Um, she's receiving the Empress. And all of these different kings represent the different sort of like types of arrangements and how they're sent, and they all carry a different meaning, right? Like there's a certain arrangement of certain flower types presented in a way that has the signature of like a king of wands, and then a signature of the king of cups and the king of swords and the king of pentacles. Like they all carry a different signature. And the ace of swords, it's like they're speaking the language of the empress because it's flower arrangements, right? Like who else would know flowers better than her? So it's like they're trying to speak her language, but it's very much that energy that I've heard Russ talk about when he's like, if you offer something to the natural world, offer something to the natural world that the natural world doesn't naturally produce. Like offer something that like you take from the world, you do your alchemy on it, and then you return it, right? And it's like that energy. It's like don't talk to the Empress in something that she can just like grow. Or it's like if you speak to her not like through her children type of energy. Because it's almost like, well, if you present the Empress with flowers, then she may get upset because now they're going to die. It's like those flowers were meant for the earth. Why did you pick them? And then why did you see it fit to send me their bodies? Like, do you even know me? Is this something that you thought I would like? Like, yeah, I'm in here being the energy of fertility on earth, so you can just pick it, pluck it, and leave it on my doorstep for me to find when I come home. To be impressed by? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Like, did you think through this at all? Did you think about who you're talking to and how this would be received? And she doesn't appreciate it. I feel like she can though, because in this is my favorite Knight of Wands card, honestly. I feel like there is an appreciation for the thought, but the way that the message comes through carries a certain energy of like disrespect almost. And so we need to learn how to talk to her. And maybe because so the emperor is in a space of conceding and finding a successor, it feels like. Excuse me. But the Ankh doesn't belong to the emperor, it belongs to the empress. And she gave it to him. But in order for us to get his blessing and to get the Ankh, we got to get it from her because he's not going to just hand it over to somebody that she wouldn't sort of approve of, I guess. And at least like this is the first time she's really coming out. And she doesn't look like she's in a space of like wanting to give this over. So, or it seems that like it feels like she's the one who would be presenting more of a challenge of worth. And the emperor is just like, here you go. And she's like, no, you got to deserve this. You have to earn this. You have to be someone of certain caliber before I just hand over literally the key to life or of life. Five of Cups, Justice on the bottom of the deck. Ooh, the Magician. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Cups. It feels like the Empress's test is one of her own. It's a test of making and creating. With the Five of Cups and the Magician. And if it's like, so 2 out of 5 is what, 40%? If 40% of our manifestations, if 40% of the things that we create, like that's like our rate of success, then I don't think she's going to hand it over. If 60% of the things that we try to bring forward into the world don't work out, carry energy of darkness or distortion, not darkness, carry an energy of shadow or distortion, if they're weird, and that's like 60% of what we do, then it would be irresponsible of her to give us a key of life. And she's not going to do that. Right? The emperor may be ready to step down, but the empress isn't so ready to come into this next phase, to enter this next era, that she's going to allow basically what we've already experienced, but worse, because we can do more, because we know more, because we're more capable. She's like with the limited amount of resources that you had, you already like kind of did this with it. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that. No, we're not. No. And then also with that, with the Seven of Cups and the Chariot, two sevens. Oh, I picked up a third card. Oh, the Ace of Cups. With the Seven of Cups and the Chariot, I'll get into the Ace of Cups in a second. This is like, when it comes to these things, we don't even put into them. Like, we don't even nurture what it is that we create or what it is that we manifest. It's like we move on to the next thing and then on to the next thing and then on to the next thing. It's like unceasing and endless. And it's almost the space of an unchecked desire paired with an inability to actually nurture something that it feels like it would like overpopulated is the energy, but not only is it like overpopulated, it's also malnourished. And she's like, yeah, no, like, and the things that you do create, like, not only do you only like enjoy or appreciate 40% of the things that you manifest in your own life, the things that you do sort of come up with also, like, you don't tend to them, you don't nurture them, you don't grow them. A lot of them are for silly or petty or foolish or very mundane reasons. And you want an increase in your manifestive ability. Okay. And then we have the Ace of Cups. Just okay. I saw the King of Wands. I'm like, oh, here's another king. Let's see if the other king is behind him. But all the kings are separated again now. I don't know why they kept coming out together. The Ace of Cups and Justice is behind this Chariot. But with how the cards came out, the Chariot was leaving the Ace of Cups and it was heading towards the Seven. Well, if the Chariot was leaving the Seven and heading towards the Ace, I personally feel like it would look a little better. But this is also what we do as humans. If there is a space where we are loved, where we are celebrated, where are appreciated, more often than not, we tend to downplay that and go after something that we don't have. Like, it reminds me of this friend I had. He was like, I was absolutely terrible in high school. Everyone like bullied me and teased me. I didn't belong, like I didn't fit in, and I hated it. And I was like, well, yeah, because you kept trying to like I was like, why did you keep trying to like get in with the popular kids? Like, you had a friend in me and like you never talked to me. The one person who accepted you literally since kindergarten, because he was kind of weird. He was really weird. And a lot of people didn't like him. But he had a friend in me. And it was like, instead of being in that space where he had acceptance, he kept trying to force it out of people who never gave it to him. And it only ended up making him feel worse about his whole life and himself. But that's a very human thing. Like, people do it, right? It's like there could be someone who has friends, who has really good friends, but they don't have a lover or a partner. And so they feel unlovable and unloved and all kinds of things, even though there's a lot of love in their life. Or if they do have a partner that's loving and supportive, then it's like, well, I don't have love from this person or that person or these people. It's like we're always chasing love that we don't have or acceptance that we can't find, instead of taking comfort in it where we have it and building there. And like, that's literally like, if you're trying to impress the Empress, come to her with this energy. Come to her with an energy that is already sustaining and nurturing and growing and expanding upon life, rather than all of this stuff. And then, like, with Justice remaining at the bottom of the deck under that, it's like, well, if your energy and if your focus is gonna, no, I keep pulling up two cards. If your energy and your focus is gonna be in places where you don't find acceptance, where you don't find love, where you feel like you're lacking and like worse off and whatever, and if you keep putting your energy into sort of those spaces, then it's like that's what you're gonna get more of. And justice at the bottom of the deck, it's like, it's not personal. It's not because the divine doesn't love you. It's because you're not going towards those places where you already have it. You're causing yourself to suffer. And then it's like you want the divine or somebody or something to alleviate your suffering, but then you continue to cause yourself to suffer. Whenever there is a moment of reprieve and alleviation, it's like, you get your fill there when you're low enough. But then after you're good, you go out and you seek it elsewhere again. The Empress isn't going to um, endorse this energy because it's an energy that's like incapable of nurture, nurturing, and it's an energy that's incapable of. It's something to do with like connection. Yeah. And it's a very human thing. But it's like, if we want to be very human, then we can stay where we are. We can continue to live a very human life and a very mundane life. We can continue to live a life that is separate from the divine and the realm of spirit. We can continue living with a thick veil or even a thinning veil or a seasonally thinning veil if we're not going to like do more or do better. It's like we all want to come into this power of sovereignty because power sounds cool. And who doesn't want power? Who doesn't want to be special? Who doesn't want to be loved? Who doesn't want like this one magical soulmate out there that's exactly for you and it's going to be this awesome thing or whatever? Like, who doesn't want that? But when it comes time to actually doing more and being more and stepping up and embodying more, it's like, well, we're not there. And a lot of us won't do what it takes to be there, but we want there. And it would be irresponsible of the divine to, from where we are, give us even more power. You have people manifesting tanks. I just manifested a tank to come and take your house. I like your house, so I came and like, here's my tank. I'm taking it. And it's like, girl, well, why didn't you just manifest something that like you liked instead of manifesting something to come and take what I have? Like you could have done that, right? You could have just manifested what you wanted instead of manifesting a way to take it from me. And it's like, well, why are you looking at me right now anyway when you could be doing like your own thing? Now, like if you're looking to be inspired, then like, yeah, I get that. Cause it's like, hey, like, I don't know what kind of tiles I would put in my dream house or what kind of carpet. I don't really care about the floor. So like, if I want to go look, oh, like, look, they have cool tiles. Like, let's get tiles like that. Not like let's go in there and strip the tiles off their floor and then install it on ours. It's like, ew, no, that's weird. Like, what? No, like, no, like what? Like when you could literally create your own or have your own or manifest your own. Like, why are you trying to take mine or take theirs or take someone else's? This is why we can't have nice things. And then everyone wants to be in this space of like, oh yeah. Or on the flip side, like they'll be so self-interested and so self-absorbed that they would see fit to manifest this gorgeous private oasis in the middle of a desolate, dying and decaying planet. And it's like, okay, yeah, no. See, because the energy of the Empress is one of abundance and one of proliferation. And I mean, it's like, come on, like she's the Empress, not the, I don't know, desert queen. It's not about having this oasis, it's about everyone and everything thriving. And if we can't be open enough to that either, then it's like, then you can stay where you are. You don't need more if you're only going to make things wax worse. We're in a period of trying to make things a little better right now. But that too is justice. And it's not personal. It's just it's just the law. It's not personal, it's the law. Type of energy. And so people are sending all their flowers. They think that they're gonna impress this empress, but she's the empress. Like, I wouldn't send the empress flowers, not empress energy. I wouldn't be like, hey, here are your children that I plucked out of the ground and arranged in an expensive vase in a pretty way. This means that I like you and I would like to be with you. And she's like, okay, well, I like my kids and I would like them to continue growing, but here we are. What would we give to the Empress? Can I get a card for that? What would the Empress find? Actually, I'm not, because I feel like I've already said it. Just don't give her something that's I feel like she's not hard to please. You just have to not be displeasing. And it shouldn't be difficult, but for a lot of people, it would seem that it is. But that's also something to try to manifest the transmutation of for the collective. So, final card. Oh, I'm so hungry now. I'm starving. Ooh! Ooh! What? This happened yesterday. Yesterday, I'm like, ooh, these cards were a little rough, but then the final cards were gorgeous. The Eight of Wands and the Four of Wands, with the Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of the Year at the bottom of the deck. This is a quick change. This is it feels like it's quick, but it feels like it's been in transition. It's been in transit for a while. I had a dream last night, or one of my dreams that I had right before I woke up. I was waiting on, first, it was a boat of all things. And I'm not too keen on boats, but I guess in the dream space, but last year, Russell helped me get over my fear of boats. Or he was like, I'm gonna get you over your fear of open water in the first dream I saw him in. And then by the third dream I had to take a boat to get to wherever he was doing. Um, so at least in the dream space, he helped me get over that. So in the dream, I'm waiting on a boat like it was a bus. And I walk up and I see somebody there, and then they kind of sort of come back and then they go back. I was like, okay. And then I walk up and I see the boat taking off. I'm like, I didn't think a boat was there because you didn't have this sense of agency about you. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna miss the boat. If I would have saw, well, in real life, I don't run for buses, so I would have just been like, oh, I guess I'm waiting for the next one. But in the dream, maybe I would have ran for the boat if I knew it was about to take off. And so then I'm sitting there. So there was that person, and then it was me. And then it was this little kid who came up, and there was somebody else. And I'm just standing there waiting for the boat, minding my business. And the person's telling the kid, he's like, we got to wait for the next boat to come. And, you don't really know how long, that one just left. So it may be 20 minutes or maybe half an hour. But if you have this app, because, I was on campus and they have buses on campus. But they have this app, and if you have the app, you can check the boat times. And he wasn't talking to me, but I could feel that he was heavily hinting that I should check my app to see when the boat was arriving. And I was kind of like, this is not a conversation with me in it. But also, I was like, okay, I'll check, whatever. But as I was doing that, another boat was arriving. And then a whole bunch of people popped up out of nowhere. They started pushing and shoving to get on the boat. The person on the boat was like, we got some cake, but it's line up in the order that y'all got in. And I'm like, well, I was the second person here. Now I'm going to be the last person to get on the bus because to get on the boat because everybody is pushing and shoving. I'm like, I'm not about to be a part of this. I'll just get on the boat when I get on the boat. And if I got to catch the next one, I'm going to catch the next one because I'm not in a rush, apparently. But then I got on the boat and there was still cake. And I can't remember if I ate any. But I was like, oh, okay. And then I get on the boat and then I went back to the front by the end of the dream. And I think I was going to talk to the captain about something. I don't remember. And then I woke up. I'm like, man, people, like, wow. And I really just stood there and watched them just like cut me. I'm like, wow, like y'all saw me waiting here, but okay. But that's what people do, right? Anyway, I don't know why this reminds me of the boat, but this feels like things that are already, maybe in ways that we don't consciously know. It feels like things are already coming into place. And so it's going to feel really quick when it happens, but it's something that's been in the process for a minute. What was the bottom of the deck? It's the Wheel of Fortune. Ooh. And the Ace of Pentacles. I mean, I love that energy. That's gorgeous. This is making me think of, I don't know if I've said it lately. I mean, I guess it was this whole reading, right? About the Emperor and the Empress, I guess, coming into this energy of bestowing. Yeah, I like that word. The Emperor and the Empress coming into the energy of bestowing. And it seems like the Emperor is just like, I don't know if he's like trying to like clear his name because of how we typically treat the divine masculine. And it's like, well, if the divine masculine is really divine, then it wouldn't be doing all this stuff that masculine energy down here is doing. So something about something ain't right to me. And if divine feminine was really divine, then she wouldn't be doing some of the stuff that she's doing down here. So again, something ain't right to me. But maybe it's masculine energy trying to really sort of like clear its name or participate in a way that it hasn't had the opportunity to participate in a while. And now it's like, or at least today, before she was feeling like, I guess there's a difference though between like divine mother, goddess energy who is here to help heal, uplift, and support. Like in that, she's extremely willing and passionate about that and excited. But when it comes time to bestowing, she's very critical. And she's not going to give that key of life to anybody. Like, I don't think you see any of the kings holding like the key, like only the emperor does that. This feels like an energy of like communion with spirit, being found worthy by spirit, ascending into that space. And to do that, there are certain things within self that we kind of sort of have to work through, accept, get over, etc. But once that happens, that's why everything sort of like begins to speed up. That's what begins to move things that may have been long stuck and like put us into this brand new experience. It's the nature of the person that we are committing ourselves to. And again, it reminds me of in the tarot apocalypse, it's like it is the queens, it is the princesses, it is the empresses that make princes, kings, and emperors. That it's their birthright that they then share. And we're seeking the empress, like we're seeking that through the empress. And so she's the one that we really gotta impress. We gotta impress the empress. That's what I'm gonna title this. I don't know. An empress looking to be impressed. Oops. And not that weird like impression thing where like imprinting, I guess. That's what, not impression, but like imprinting. Um because it feels like she is like similarly eager, I guess. Because I don't know if there's any too much of any divine energy that isn't ready for humanity to like, be the better of its potential in more ways. Um, but also It's like you wouldn't want to do it before we're ready, because again, like you'd have people using their increased manifestation capabilities to just wreak havoc. And they do say that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Maybe it was looking for the incorruptibles, because I know I said that lately. And also, there was the energy last year when the Eight of Pentacles, the Son of Pentacles, and some other card came out. And it was like, if your external reality is something that you use to validate your spiritual progress, then your journey is going to be slow and it's going to be confusing and it's probably going to be challenging. If your growth is dependent upon how people treat you, or how like much money you're making, or how comfortable you are in life, then you're essentially setting yourself up to be that person that needs tower moments to really get them going. And if that's you, it's fine, because we all have our own journeys and we all learn in different ways and we're motivated by different things. But it could be easier when you just listen and you do it the first time, and you don't get so attached to your external environment that you see a time of pause as reason enough to stop. Because then it's like, well, what if you have to wait for something better? What if the thing that you are meant to do isn't quite yet like in existence? Like, what if there are other pieces or other factors that need to occur first? Then like, would you be that person that like backs off from the dock? Maybe he like, I don't know how fast the boat loads, but maybe the boat came and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna do that," and so that's why they like left. And then like, hold on, wait, like I want to get on the boat, and but the boat was already gone. I mean, I guess it is what it is, man. I want to be nice. I want to be nice. This energy is gorgeous. The Four of Wands, the Eight of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune with the Ace of Pentacles behind it at the bottom of the deck. And if you're curious, the Seven of Wands is behind the Ace of Pentacles. This is my minor strength card. The Seven of Wands, the Hierophant, the Seven of Pentacles, the Six of Cups, the Moon, the Queen of Swords, the Shadow Side, the Four of Cups, the Magician, the Nine of Wands, Chariot, Empress, Three of Swords, Four of Pentacles, Knight of Wands, Sun, Nine of Pentacles, Nine of Swords, Five of Swords, Death. There's something very mechanical is always the word that I use, but it's like gears enmeshed with each other in this card. And it reminds me of that Eight of Pentacles. I think not my vote. And I think a lot of times, and this is just Patrick being Patrick, I think a lot of times we condition ourselves to believe that what is for us is meant for, like, what is meant for us is ours, and we will never miss it. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that there are lots of things that are meant for us. I think there, like, abundance is always meant for us. Grace is always meant for us. Love is always meant for us. But we have the power of will and we have the power of choice. So we can refuse to take what is ours. We can choose to not board a bus or a boat or a plane. Like, just because you buy the ticket doesn't mean that you have to get on the flight. Just because you go to work doesn't mean that you have to clock in, doesn't mean that you have to document your hours. And I think it can be not dangerous, but I think it can separate us from our potential when, but maybe it's just me. Cause I'm the type of person that's like, I'm going to do the work, and I'm not going to sit around and not do the things that I know I need to do and then miss out on something and then say, like, oh, I guess it wasn't for me. When it could have been mine, or when it was mine, I just didn't do what I needed to do to claim it or to get it. And I think sometimes It's like growing up in church when people would always say, "Oh, the Lord knows my heart." Like the Lord knows my heart. The Lord knows my heart. And it's like, yeah, but like, so does that mean you're never going to do anything different and you're just going to keep sort of running the same circles until, and it's like if you don't want any more out of life. And a lot of people don't, or not a lot of people. Some people don't want more out of life. Or some people want more but they don't want to do anything to get it. And it's like, then I guess like keep sitting around and waiting for the thing to fully manifest itself in your life without you having to do anything. But a lot of times it's like we do want more, but we don't want to do anything to get it. And that's like going back to that, like the 7 of Cups, the Chariot, and the Ace of Cups. It's like instead of us putting something into something to more fully manifest it, we go and we seek lesser manifestations. We go and we seek what is easier. And it's like there are so many people who talk about like becoming a master manifester and stepping into sovereignty and owning your own power. And it's like, well, if owning your own power is seeking what is lesser than, then I don't know. I guess maybe my sights are just set higher than that. And I'm willing to put in more work than that. And I don't like I'm not trying to call anybody out. It's just I feel like there are these lines of thinking that we carry that don't serve us as much as we think that they do. I guess that's the only thing I'm trying to say. And it's like they're sort of strategically implanted more often than not to keep us where we are. And it's like, can we miss out on the things that aren't for us? It reminds me of when I saw the Tower card a long time ago and it came out with the Seven of Swords. And for that person, it was like, there's an energy here of like someone or something that tried to infiltrate and take something that was yours. But what they tried to take cannot be taken. And so what they did is they hid it. They convinced you that it wasn't there. They convinced you that they had taken it. And in that, they caused you to act from this space instead of in this space. But in reality, what they took is something that can't be taken. It's yours. You can choose to not pick it up. You can choose to not take it. You can choose to leave it lying where it is. And that's your choice. And your choice is honored and respected. But like it didn't get taken. It's still very much so yours. Now you might have to look for it a little bit though, because you're convinced that it lies somewhere that it isn't. And as long as you continue to chase it, then that's the longer that like you don't have it, and that's the longer that the powers that be can sort of remain being in power. And that's why like throughout not my whole journey, but that's one of the reasons why it's like I don't look into astrology as much. I don't do as much research anymore. Like I don't feel that like I feel that if there was something on this plane, on this level of existence that had the ability to really influence or impact something in a significant way, then those impacts would have already been made. And I think a lot of times we can sort of like fall into or be convinced that it's something that we have to figure out or it's something that we have to assemble or that the societies of old, like they knew what was up and they left it for us. And maybe that's true, but if you like come into contact with yourself and with the divine will lead you where you need to go. It will give you the opportunities. It will present you with the challenges to overcome. It will forge you into that person. And it's not something that you have to go and like study hours for and figure out, maybe because like that's also part of the hierophany matrixy sort of system. The matrix isn't going to give you anything to break the matrix. The hierophant isn't going to give you anything to remove it from power, but it can convince you to look and to search, and that if like you miss out on something, then it wasn't for you, or that like, oh, there's just so many like threads and lines of thinking that again, it's like if you sort of take a step back and look at it, it's like how much does this really serve me? How much does this keep me complacent? How much does it, and again, it's like we're human, right? Life is hard, it's challenging. No one knows all the answers. No one really knows what they're doing down here. We're all sort of like just doing our best. And it's okay. It's not to not feel like we're enough, but it's like if we want more, we're going to have to do more. And if we do the work, then we should claim the thing instead of letting it go and being like, oh, well, I guess it wasn't for me. Because then there's going to be a whole life of things that were for you. But we like I've worked so hard for so many opportunities that I didn't take. And I didn't take them because of where I was internally and how I felt about myself. And like my self-esteem, I just like I don't know, it was like it was high, but it was low. Like it was immediately high. But whenever it came to the future or whenever it came to something uncertain, it was absent. And it's like I can grow and I can challenge myself within the confines of like West Lafayette, Indiana. But as soon as I got an opportunity to like go beyond that or to go elsewhere, that's when all the fear kicked in. And it's not that those things weren't for me. It's that I wasn't in a position or in a place to receive them and accept them. And again, like I worked very hard for some of those opportunities only to be scared at the end and not take them. It was a me thing. And it's like if I would have had that line of thinking, maybe there are some things in some ways I would have like grown and I would have like challenged myself, maybe. But it just was like, well, it's okay that I didn't do this. It's okay that I don't do that. Like, oh, that's not for me. This isn't for me. I guess that wasn't mine. Because if it was mine, then it would have been mine regardless of what I do. And it's kind of sort of like energetically manipulative. Like maybe I was in Russ's live yesterday and somebody said something. I was somewhere yesterday and someone was like, you have to like give someone else the idea, but then make it think that it was their idea. And I'm like, that's manipulative. That's like manipulative AF. Like you're trying to implant an idea upon somebody else, but make them think that it's their own so that they do something. Like that sounds like shady shadow government, old hierophant matrix, whatever to me. And it's like, no, like, and I feel like a lot of times we can try to be like energetically manipulative. Like if it was another person and it was someone that loved you and cared about you, and if you were like, well, if you really loved me, then you would do this. If you really loved me, then you would stay with me regardless of how much I beat you or cheat on you or abuse you or mistreat you. Like if you loved me, you would take it gladly and willingly. And it's like, no. And I feel like there are things like my brain, it works in metaphor. And I see parallels in things where people will be like, it's not that deep. Like it's not the same thing. And it's like, if you love something that loved you, then you would both put into it. You would both nurture it. You would both care for it. That's Emperor Empress energy. Like you would both nurture, you would both provide with that Empress, and you would both sort of protect and you would both invest and be present. And like that's this sort of type of relationship where you're both putting into something because it's the Four of Wands. It's a commitment. It works on like both people. Every party has to be involved. And if spirit is the one doing all of the heavy lifting and we're not really doing anything, or if it's like, we're like, oh, well, spirit will meet me where I am and they'll give me everything that I want. And then when we don't get it, it's like, well, I'm losing my faith. I'm losing my faith because God isn't blessing me while I'm still out here doing everything that I've been doing that he's been trying to, like, he's literally been telling me for how long to like get it together with. And I know that that probably like isn't what you were saying, so I apologize for just going off like that. But I don't know. It's like it's time for us to start doing better. And it's time for us to really start like doing the work to get where we want to be, because I feel like it's so palpable. And if I mean at the end of the day, if it's not for us, it's not for us. And if it's not our journey, it's not our journey. But I'd like to see a humanity that does more. I'd like to see a collective of individuals who go the extra step. Not even a whole mile, just like go an extra step. And then maybe another step. And then it's like, okay, Patrick, well, when would you be satisfied? And it's not about when Patrick would be satisfied, but like my whole life, even yesterday, it's like there are people who are like so dissatisfied with where they are in life. People who feel like there's like they have the potential for so much more, or people who feel like there is more in life, but don't do the things to get themselves there. And it's like, well, if you want more out of life, then maybe you shouldn't like spend all your time drinking and like running around and trying to be young. Like somebody that I know, it's like you have a whole family. And it's like you're trying to, and then like I talked to his wife earlier, and she's like, I can't keep being married to a single man. Like, and what's kind of sad, I guess, is that they're both in a space of wanting to find themselves. But, and from my very like Patrick judgmental perspective, it's like one person is sort of like investing in themselves, like going back to school, like advancing their career, like doing those types of things. The other person is like drinking, going to bars, going to clubs, and like they were pretty young when they got together. Like they've been together for a while. They've been together for a while. And so I can kind of sort of I can see him feeling like he missed out on a lot of stuff because like they were young when they started building a family. But in my mind it's like I guess I look at finding myself in terms of like, and maybe this is a Patrick thing, because I look at finding myself in terms of like me getting closer and closer and closer to where I'll ultimately end up. And so for me, I look at finding myself and my path and my journey as linear. It's like this linear progression. And so in my mind, it's like, because I know that I wouldn't find myself in drugs, I wouldn't find myself in alcohol, I wouldn't find myself in going out and hooking up with people, I wouldn't find myself in creating memories that I'm too messed up to even remember. But there are some people who end up finding themselves through that and because of that. We're all different. And like even like I looked at my Sabian symbols because it was like a year and a half ago. One of my old Sagittarian buddies, he's the one that like for a lot of like astrology stuff, he's the one that was like, like go to YouTube, look up these placements, like find like take a certain placement, look it up on YouTube, find a person that you like and that you can learn from, and then like use their videos to like get more info about your birth chart. He's the one with some tarot stuff. Like he told me about Biddy Tarot because I was still like fairly new, and I mean, it was mostly Biddy Tarot, and like he would give his own interpretation on things sometimes, and then he like told me about Sabian symbols, and the Sabian symbol for I think my son, it's very much so like narrow path, narrow journey energy. Let me try to find it. Yes! I was like, are those the seagulls? I was literally just talking about the seagulls and then they popped up. Let me see. Well, I have my computer right here. I'll just look it up here. What is that? 10 degrees Pisces Sabian symbol. It might be 11 because it's like 10 to 11 instead of like 9 to 10. Single eye, the body light. Wait, no. Or was it my moon? Hold up. I think I clipped it. I'll just do Sabian symbol list. There we go. It was something in here. I know I'm a I'm a fully decorated Christmas tree rising. And like for that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because I came into this world pretty headstrong about like my intuition and what I feel. And if something doesn't go along with what I feel, then I don't pay it too much of any mind. I'm like, that's not me. I'm not doing that. Moving forward. Um, I think it was the sun. So I'm like, this is just me. So 0 to 1. So I think I'd look at 11 because that's how this one has it set up. I got to go to the restroom. I've been drinking a lot of water. Yeah, men traveling a narrow path seeking illumination. Keynote, the capacity inherent in every individual to seek at whatever cost entrance to a transcendent realm of reality. This refers to the ancient and eternal symbol of the path of discipleship. The greatness of man is that he can always be greater, and the belief deeply rooted in men's inner nature that if he fulfills the necessary conditions, he can find elder brothers who have already attained a higher level of consciousness and will transfer their attainment and light to him. The path is always open to the pure in heart, the mentally aware, the conqueror of emotions, and the spiritually self mobilized. This symbol opens the 69th fivefold sequence. Don't know what that is. And a new level of consciousness. Man is always in the making and remaking. He can always go further, reach beyond, but he has to take the first step. Someone can show him the path, but he alone can do the walking. Thus, the Zen injunction, walk on. Like, that's very, like, when I saw that on my son, I was like, yeah, that's very much so me. That's why I'm so anal and narrow minded and blind to like everything that doesn't fit on my path. Like if I don't feel resonance with something, I don't invest into it. I don't really look into it. And I kind of sort of did that. Well, not really. Cause I started like the start of my spiritual journey. It was like a lot of stuff that I didn't have any resonance with. Like ayahuasca. Like for some reason I got into like when I first started like really getting into stuff, ayahuasca kept popping up. I'm like, I'm not doing ayahuasca for personal reasons. And so maybe it was good that I had that experience. It's because I had that experience that I was like, well, let me be a little bit more not discerning, but let me feel into what holds resonance for me as I go along my journey. Let me build off of like I can take and then build off of or be inspired by and then build off of. But it's like I try to hold things as a scaffold, as a framework. And then if I can't like flow into it and then feel it in whatever way that I feel it, then I like flow through it. I'm like, yeah, we're moving on. Something about this doesn't hold any of my essence and it doesn't bring me any expansion or fulfillment. So I was supposed to not be doing this anymore. Last night I went to bed. I was like, I'm feeling playful. Like, I don't know if it's this new hairstyle or weight. I don't know if it's this new hair journey that I just started. And here I am, like mucking it up. I'm not mucking it up because I do believe that it's important for us to, because like there have been again, it's like there's people in my life that I know who are so much more capable, who have so much more to them than they allow themselves. And when things don't work out, it's not always that they weren't meant to. And it's not always that it wasn't like meant for them. But sometimes something will ask more than we're willing to give in the moment. And in that sense, maybe it wasn't for us. But in another sense, it's like, well, it could have been. If we wanted it, it was. If we wanted it enough to move or to actually board, then it was ours. And so then it's like, well, if that's true, was it ours or wasn't it? And it's like just because you have something doesn't mean that you like need to use it either. Chimney smoke descends, our nice weather ends. January 25th. Um, I just wanted to pull a calendar day. Chimney smoke descends, our nice weather ends. There's a rant. Oh, I just saw 11111. All right, I gotta go to the restroom. I'll catch y'all later. I'm working on myself, just like we're all working on ourselves. I think this is my challenge right now. I think the Empress would be like, see, you don't know how to nurture something. You so quick, you too quick to pull your energy out of something. You're a little hot when you don't need to be, and you're too watery sometimes where you need a little hot. I'm like, I'm working on it, Empress. Goodness. So, I guess, but that's also the space that I want to come into. That's a collective that I want to come into. A collective of those who will rise to the occasion in the moment rather than sort of like being forced to, rather than like needing tower moments and needing heartache and heartbreak and not great experiences to be strong. And we're always going to have challenges, and expansion always comes at the cost of not always, but more often than not, it seems that expansion comes at the cost of discomfort. But like Sand was saying in her, I only watched like 3 minutes of her Taurus reading, but I'm like, this is me. She's like, it feels like you're reaching for something that's like outside of you. And then Eve is like, what were you doing sitting on the Idrisil last night? I'm like, that's very much so me. And I think, like I said, I also need to remember that different people are different and there are different roads. And that's why this is the reason why I'm not pulling cards for people anymore. This is one of the reasons why I'm not pulling cards for people anymore, especially people that I don't know on a more personal level. And I think also, like, one of the reasons why I don't feel as comfortable accepting like payment for readings and stuff is because if I hit a point in a reading where I'm not supposed to say anything or where I don't know or where it's important for the person to develop something on their own to reach a certain conclusion, because sometimes reaching the conclusion is more important than the actual conclusion itself. And if we try to sort of like force the answer, then it's almost like it can do damage in the form of like us not putting in as much to get that, if that makes any sense. And like a lot of the people that I've read for, like their understanding of that, and they'll be like, yeah, like, you know, and that's why like I love people who are like, like, and I also like watching it because I think like it was in one of her videos, Miss Remy. She was like, oh, they're not giving me an answer, but like, let's see. And she's like, yeah, no, they're not giving me an answer. So I was like, yeah. But I don't know. It's like, That's kind of sort of where I find excitement. I might be weird like that though. So yeah, me too. I'm like, ooh, like I'm about to grow. I'm about to expand. Wait, um, but yeah, and I feel like right now I just need to be. It would serve me to be more aware that how I work, my functionalities, my spiritual modality, our elemental dignity is like not everyone's. And then it's like, well, how am I supposed to help anybody do anything? Can I make a system for that? I wonder if I can shortcut it. Because, like I said, like in the curriculum, like in step one, and like when I built step one, like I wasn't aware of like, this is why I'm building this out this way. But like, well, technically it's step zero. So in step zero, like all of that, like it came out the first time I ran somebody through it. And I was so confused. I'm like, I don't know why, like I don't know why your elements are laid out this way. Like this doesn't make sense to me. But the more I've worked with that person, and especially now, I'm like, girl. And every time I'm like, oh, this is why it looked like that. This is why it looked like that. And I have to be like, I don't work like this. I don't operate like this. I can kind of sort of like infer a little bit from context and the surrounding energies how this might play out. But whatever this is on you, girl. And it's like I kind of partially want to do that more, and I kind of partially don't. Or I'm trying to think about it. It's like I guess I could just do step zero. I could just do like step zero and be like, from my perspective, from my little spiritual opinion, and from my cards, this is what it looks like your makeup kind of sort of is. And so you may find benefit in this. Like energetically, it seems like these things naturally would correspond to and resonate quite nicely with like a more sort of like soul or self level setup that you got going on here. Because when it comes to like earth and stuff like that, that ain't me. Like crystals, like I have a few crystals, but like, and I can feel a few of them, but I'm not super into it. Not super into nature, even though I appreciate it. Like when it comes to like fire things, like that ain't me. Like I ain't trying to get burnt. I'm not extremely active. I'm becoming more active and I'm appreciating it more. But like that's like potentially 22 spreads. Like that's a lot. But anyway, I'll catch y'all later. I gotta go to the restroom. Oh, I'm working on myself too. I'm like, come on. Where did that water go? Where did that water go? Let's bring the fire back a little bit. But also at the same time, it's all me. So, you know, I am all of this. I can be extremely like cold and dry and logical sometimes. I could be extremely watery or fiery and like F logic. Like, let's just go based off of what we feel and it shouldn't be like this. I'm all over the place. And it's fine because, I'm a Pisces and I got a bunch of stuff going on in my birth chart. All right, bye. Ooh.